Question: what's the point of movies, TV, and pop culture if you don't apply their learning lessons to your own life? This is a question that's kind of been stuck with me lately. Obviously, we aren't expected to take every life lesson from a movie and execute it. But if something speaks to you, and you think it might have a positive impact on you, why not let it change you? In my Spirituality of Kung Fu Panda video, I broke down those 3 films and brought to light what the films had to teach us under the lens of Chinese Taoism. We came to a specific spiritual conclusion that almost defined the arc of spirituality itself within the story. So for this video, instead of just breaking down religious and philosophical impacts on the Avatar world, I want to more specifically look at how spirituality impacted the characters and the decisions they made, and in the end, how it affects the story as a whole. Welcome to Cunan's Cove, I'm Cunan, and today we answer the question, what can we learn from the spirituality of Avatar The Last Airbender? Before we really get into the spiritual stuff, it's important that we first look at the religions that influenced Avatar during its creation. There are mainly 4 religions that went into Avatar: Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Shinto. My goal with the Spirituality of series is to take modern-day pop culture and see how it relates to Taoism. But, since Avatar is influenced by 3 other religions, I'll do my best to pull from all 4 sources, even though Taoism is my main focus. Now before we jump into it, I should first define Taoism for you all, since it'll pretty much be the key to most of the things I explain. Taoism. Considered more philosophy than organized religion, Taoism originated from China in the 6th century BCE. One of the most famous texts, the Tao Te Ching, was written by Lao Tzu in the 4th century BCE. Taoism emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, which can be defined as the source, pattern, and substance of everything that exists. Think the Force from Star Wars, just without being able to move things with your mind. Another way to look at the Tao is to consider it the natural order of things without intervention, the untampered flow of nature. So, now that we have that basic understanding, without further ado, let's start with our main character, who just so happens to be the Avatar and the Last Airbender. Whoa, that's the title of the show.
Why didn't you tell us you were the Avatar?
Because I never wanted to be.
Starting as just a kid who wanted to have fun, didn't we all? Aang was told at a young age that he was the Avatar. The monks were planning on sending him away to complete his training, but the changes were just too much for a 12-year-old boy to handle. For him, being the Avatar only made his life less enjoyable. This situation was not at all Aang's fault, but as we know, when he wakes up 100 years later after being frozen in the ice, being the last Airbender and the Avatar meant he was entering a world where he had to accept all of the responsibility for what had happened. Aang was trying to run away and avoid his Dharma. But wait, hold on there. What's Dharma? Well, Dharma is a term used in Indian religions, most notably Hinduism and Buddhism. There's no real single definition of the word, so here's my best summary. As Yogapedia puts it, the implication of Dharma is that there is a right or true way for each person to carry out their life in order to serve both themselves and others. Dharma is closely related to the concepts of duty and selfless service. Or as John Green puts it,
Dharma is basically one's role in life and society, and it is defined primarily by birth and by caste.
Dharma actually is a concept that's explored deeply in the show, even though the word is never spoken out loud. Aang's Dharma is first and foremost his role as the Avatar, as well as keeping the Airbender culture and history alive. He is the last Airbender. And Aang at first only wants to get away from his Dharma. First, by running away from the air nomads, and second, by lying to Katara and Sokka and claiming he knows nothing of the Avatar.
I guess I was wondering, you're being an airbender and all? If you had any idea what happened to the Avatar?
No. I didn't know him. I mean, I knew people that knew him, but I didn't. Sorry.
And who could blame him? At 12 years old, Aang went from having fun with other airbender kids, which is what being 12 is all about, to having the weight of the world put on his shoulders. But in Book 2, Aang learns this from Bumi.
There are options in fighting called Jing. It's a choice of how you direct your energy.
There's positive Jing when you're attacking and negative Jing when you're retreating.
And neutral Jing, when you do nothing. Neutral Jing is the key to earthbending. It involves listening and waiting for the right moment to strike.
In Avatar, they refer to this as Jing, but in the real world, it goes by a different name, Wu Wei, a concept literally meaning inexertion, inaction, effortless action, or doing nothing. It sounds like a pleasant invitation to relax, or worse, fall into laziness or apathy. Yet this concept is key to the noblest kind of action according to the philosophy of Taoism, and is at the heart of what it means to follow the Tao. Wu Wei is very similar to how we talked about the Tao earlier in the video, being the natural order of things without intervention. In short, using Wu Wei is a surefire way to follow the way of the Tao. The Tao Te Ching specifically mentions the act of doing nothing. At the end of chapter 3, translated by Stephen Mitchell, it says, "Practice not doing, and everything will fall into place." Bumi teaches Aang this, but the funny thing is that Aang is already the perfect example of Wu Wei even before the events of the first episode. Sure, he ran away from the monks out of the fear of change, but it was the Avatar state that saved him from drowning and froze him for 100 years. The Avatar used Wu Wei for a whole century, even though Aang didn't really know it, waiting for the right moment until the natural flow of the Tao presented itself and returned the Avatar to the world. Once Aang returns, the world doesn't really hesitate to blame him for the 100-Year War. And even though he wasn't directly responsible for the war like the Fire Nation was, Aang does claim responsibility for his actions, learns from them, and does his best to help the world overcome the violence and treachery that the Fire Nation forced onto it. From the Tao Te Ching, the gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. That which has no substance enters where there is no space. This shows the value of non-action. Teaching without words, performing without actions. That is the master's way. From this, Aang was not only able to become a fully realized avatar, but a fully realized version of himself.
You did the right thing. Forgiveness is the first step you have to take to begin healing.
But I didn't forgive him. I'll never forgive him.
When Katara was little, the Fire Nation took her mother away from her, creating a hole in her life that never left. She did her best to deal with the pain, assuming the motherly position herself, which is why her brother Sokka doesn't seem to struggle as much as she does. She was the mother figure. He abused me, he struck me, he overcame me, he robbed me. In those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. He abused me, he struck me, he overcame me, he robbed me. In those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred will cease. This is a Buddhist proverb, which clearly defines two paths Katara can take when it comes to dealing with these emotions. And though the second line is clearly the ideal option for any one person to choose, one thing that isn't realistic is that you often don't really get a choice. For much of her life, Katara finds herself trapped in harboring hatred toward the Southern Raider that took her mother, which grows into a more generalized hatred towards the Fire Nation as a whole. This all makes it very hard for her to forgive Zuko in Book 3, because his previous association with the Fire Nation is not something so easily redeemed in Katara's eyes. In Hinduism, the theological basis for forgiveness in Hindu Dharma is that a person who does not forgive carries a baggage of memories of the wrong, of negative feelings, of anger and unresolved emotions that affect their present as well as their future. All throughout the series, Katara had allowed her baggage of memories of the wrong affect her present and her future. Forgiveness is easier said than done. I can pull from all these philosophies, proverbs, and scriptures I want, but that doesn't make it any easier to forgive. And Avatar does an amazing job at displaying this. At the end of the Southern Raiders episode, despite that she was able to resist killing him, Katara is still not able to forgive the man who took her mother away. But the experience did slowly open her up, which allowed her to take step 1 on that path of forgiveness: forgive Zuko. Forgiveness can be a tedious process, and it might not ever happen. But one thing is clear, Katara's experience in the Southern Raiders did major work in helping her clear her conscience about the matter, at least as much work that could have been done. But the important thing is, Katara did try to forgive. By the end of the episode, she isn't regressing back to hatred in any way. She's merely admitting that yes, forgiveness is the best option, but it will take a while until she's able to do that. And that's okay. I just don't want to confuse taking time to forgive with a regression back to hatred. One is obviously better than the other. Forgiveness is always good, but don't always expect it to come so easy. According to the Tao Te Ching, the generals have a saying: rather than make the first move, it's better to wait and see. Rather than advance an inch, it's better to retreat a yard. This is called going forward without advancing, pushing back without using weapons. There is no greater misfortune than underestimating your enemy. Underestimating your enemy means thinking he is evil. Thus, you destroy your 3 treasures and become an enemy yourself. When 2 great forces oppose each other, the victory will go to the one who knows how to yield.
My dad is. He explained the plan perfectly and inspired everyone, like a real leader should.
Your moment of truth isn't going to be in front of some map. It's going to be out there on the battlefield.
While Katara was greatly influenced by her mother growing up, Sokka's mentor figure fell to his father, Hakoda. In his absence, Sokka used the memory of his father's great leadership to inspire who he wanted to become. But without proper mentorship, Sokka easily fell into a pit that is very easy to find when it comes to learning how to be a leader: vanity. Those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. He who stands on tiptoe doesn't stand firm. He who rushes ahead doesn't go far. He who tries to shine dims out his own light. He who defines himself can't know who he really is. He who has power over others can't empower himself. He who clings to his work will create nothing that endures. If you want to accord with the Tao, just do your job, then let go.
I'm the oldest and I'm a warrior, so I'm the leader.
To be fair, it's only natural that Sokka would grow to become this way. He was forced to become the lead warrior of his small tribe when the warriors left, which, for a teenager, is prime time for your insecurities to show. Which, is okay. That's what growing up is for. And over the course of the series, Sokka does nothing but learn about how to become a true leader, and put down the masked version of himself that he had created to seem like a good leader. There are specific moments throughout the series that are key to pushing Sokka to grow. From the beginning of the show, Sokka demonstrates sexism by believing, in short, that women can't be warriors. But when the gang runs into the Kyoshi warriors, he's easily bested by Suki, and humiliated in front of the other warriors. Now Sokka does something special here that's kinda hard to do. He embraces his humility. It would have been easy for him to brush it off, walk away from the Kyoshi warriors all angsty and angry, while keeping his fragile masculinity intact. But instead, he kneels before them and accepts defeat, and asks for forgiveness. As Uncle Iroh once said,
"True humility is the only antidote to shame."
A few episodes later, the gang encounters a group of rebels who call themselves the Freedom Fighters, led by Jet. Now, from early in the episode, Jet is portrayed as the quintessential ladies' man, the perfect leader, with enough of a commanding presence and suave to prove it. But from this episode, Jet proves to be less than just in his actions, as he abuses his power over his freedom fighters. Sokka learns once again that there are things to be learned from humility, and it's okay to admit when you're wrong. This episode is really what pushes the snowball down the hill to allow Sokka to grow into an internally strong leader. The master views the parts with compassion because he understands the whole. His constant practice is humility. He doesn't glitter like a jewel, but he lets himself be shaped by the Tao, as rugged and common as stone. Humility becomes Sokka's key to being shaped by the Tao, to become the man he wants to be. In Book 3, he studies the way of the sword with Master Piandao. To be accepted in training in the first place, Sokka admits that he doesn't think he's worthy.
Your butler told me that when I met you, I would have to prove my worth. But the truth is, I don't know if I am worthy.
And even after all of his training, he feels guilty that he wasn't truly honest about his origins from the Water Tribe.
I'm sorry, Master. You're wrong. I am not worthy. I'm not who you think I am. I lied so that I could learn swordsmanship from you. I'm sorry.
All of these moments of true humility are what allow Sokka to be a successful leader in the future, even if his missions weren't all successes. When his father is injured during the Day of Black Sun, he successfully leads the battalion up the mountain to the Fire Nation capital. At the Boiling Rock, he's able to use his gained skills to think on his feet the whole time, to try and rescue his father and Suki from the prison. He didn't even have a thought-out plan like he usually does, but thanks to his intuition, and a little help from his rock, Zuko, they were successful in their mission. And most importantly, during Sozin's Comet, he was able to lead Toph and Suki, 2 females, to take down an entire fleet of Fire Nation airships.
Airship slice!
That if it weren't for them, the Fire Nation would have caused further damage to the Earth Kingdom while the Avatar dealt with the Fire Lord. From the Tao Te Ching, when the Master governs, the people are hardly aware he exists. Next best is a leader who is loved. Next, one who's feared. The worst is one who is despised. If you don't trust the people, you make them untrustworthy. The Master doesn't talk, he acts. When his work is done, the people say, "Amazing, we did it, all by ourselves."
Can you feel your own chi flowing in, down, up, and out?
I think so.
Come on, you've got to feel the flow.
Unlike all other main characters of the show, from the start of Book 1, Iroh had already gone through his big character arc that made him into the man he is. He lost his son, Lu Ten, which created a turning point in his life. This obviously makes sense given that he serves as a mentor figure in the show, not just to Zuko, but to all the members of Team Avatar eventually. Other people have what they need. I alone possess nothing. I alone drift about, like someone without a home. I'm like an idiot. My mind is so empty. Anyone who's willing to accept the old man's wisdom gets treated, while others brush him off as an old kook that serves no good. Anyways, since Iroh had already gone through his big change, which very much parallels the lessons and changes Zuko and Aang go through, the spirituality of his story is much more like a compilation of proverbs rather than a fleshed out journey. Funny how that turned out though, because that's exactly what the Tao Te Ching is, a collection of proverbs versus a story. So let's just flow down the creek and visit some of the many proverbs of Uncle Iroh. Iroh embodies a specific state of being that can be found in almost all religions. Just go with the flow. The best analogy I've heard would be from personaldao.com, stating, "A Taoist doesn't take a bull by its horns. A Taoist flows around the bull." After his great failure at Ba Sing Se, the Dragon of the West turned into the man we know now. A man that understands the nature of the Tao and follows its will and does not interfere with nature. One of my favorite moments in all the show comes from the season finale of Book 1. Admiral Zhao is about to kill one of the moon spirits, but Iroh knows that his loyalty to nature, his connection to the Tao, is much more important than his loyalty to the Fire Nation.
I'm no traitor, Zhao. The Fire Nation needs the moon too. We all depend on the balance. Whatever you do to that spirit, I'll unleash on you tenfold. Let it go now!
Ugh, I just love it.
I just love it.
Anytime that we see Iroh helping people, not just Fire Nation people, it really warms my heart. It's not something you'd expect from a Nickelodeon show, the bad guy's uncle to help our heroes. Take this quote from the Buddha, and I was kinda surprised by how much this sounded like Iroh. "Drop by drop is the water pot filled. Likewise, the wise man, gathering it little by little, fills himself with good." Sound familiar?
So, Toph thinks you give pretty good advice. And great tea.
The key to both is proper aging.
Pretty awesome. Not much to explain there, but it's cool. But something that I do get out of this is that before you can call yourself wise, you need proper aging. Don't go around calling yourself wise because, as we discussed earlier, those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. Just be patient and know that only time can bring you wisdom, not just inspirational Buddha quotes. Well, that kinda nullifies this video, huh? Speaking of this video being pointless, here's another excerpt from the Tao Te Ching. "True words aren't eloquent. Eloquent words aren't true. Wise men don't need to prove their point. Men who need to prove their point aren't wise. The master has no possessions. The more he does for others, the happier he is. The more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. The Tao nourishes by not forcing, by not dominating. The master leads." Men who need to prove their point aren't wise. So that just takes every video I've ever made and put it down the drain. And, that's okay. I'm not expecting to be considered wise at 21 years old. But this does paint another great picture of our Uncle Iroh. The one thing Iroh does is give, constantly throughout the series. In fact, I don't think I can recall a moment where he would ever take from someone. He would either give or let the Tao take shape. His interference, if any, was for the sake of good, for the sake of helping people back on the right path. And like I said before, it's without bias towards the Fire Nation. The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The Master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. The Tao is like a bellows. It is empty yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Hold on to the center. The more you talk of it, the less you understand, so further nullifies this video. Not only does Iroh embody this principle, but the Order of the White Lotus does too. When Sokka comes forward to his master and admits that he is from the Water Tribe, Master Piandao is surprisingly not angry, because according to him,
the way of the sword doesn't belong to any one nation. Knowledge of the arts belongs to us all.
This is something that Iroh came to learn due to the loss of his son. Now, I spoke earlier about how Iroh had already gone through his character arc by the beginning of the show, but there's still a small arc left for him that they beautifully execute.
When I was a boy, I had a vision that I would one day take Ba Sing Se. Only now do I see that my destiny is to take it back from the Fire Nation, so the Earth Kingdom can be free again.
From the beginning of the series, Iroh had come to terms with the fact that his vision of Ba Sing Se was a falsehood, and was not his true identity. He didn't let it define him. He allowed himself to break away from undying loyalty to the Fire Nation and followed his own path and thought for himself. This is essentially what he teaches Zuko to do, and even though Iroh had gone through most of his arc already, it only ever is fully complete at the same time as Zuko, Aang, and everyone else.
Zuko, you have to look within yourself to save yourself from your other self. Only then will your true self reveal itself.
And this brings us to the most popular character, Zuko. I know that everyone loves Zuko, but I didn't really realize how much he's loved until I tried searching for articles and videos about Aang's character arc, but was only met with countless videos about Zuko. And that's exactly the thing. There are countless videos out there about Zuko, breaking down how amazing his character arc is. So I really don't feel the need to get into that much in detail, though it is still the backbone of Zuko's spiritual journey. Zuko's journey is very similar to another story I read. What was it about? Oh yeah, the Buddha. You see, before he was the Buddha, his name was, probably gonna butcher this, Siddhartha Gautama. He lived in the Hindu caste system as a pretty wealthy prince. But as the story goes, and I'm generalizing this, he suspected there was more to life, so he abandoned his life and went searching for meaning. And in his transition from wealthy prince to a traveling man, he cut his hair to signify him leaving his old life behind. Does that sound familiar? Now there are definite differences in this story, but the backbone of it all screams Zuko to me. Even though Zuko did not intentionally leave his life of luxury, his journey was inevitably the same, where by the end, both Zuko and the Buddha found enlightenment, just in different ways. Zuko did something that was difficult. He was able to show humility and admit that he was wrong.
I thought I had lost my honor, and that somehow my father could return it to me. But I know now that no one can give you your honor. It's something you earn for yourself by choosing to do what's right.
And in the end, Zuko was able to realize that his dharma cannot be given to him by any one person, especially not his abusive father. But his dharma is something only he could bring to himself. In short, Zen is a way of being who you are in this moment, and not aspiring to some fictional self that is just a conception of the mind. Thanks to his banishment, followed by proper guidance, Zuko was able to achieve Zen. And to me, this moment is perfectly shown in the Firebending Masters episode of Book 3, where Zuko learns to firebend without using his anger as fuel. And in the end, I think that is what makes Zuko's arc so compelling. The idea that no matter how bad you used to be, that everyone deserves a second and a third chance, no matter what. That idea really hits home with people, because even though we might not have made mistakes as harmful as Zuko's, the fact that Zuko can turn around and choose the side of good after all that had been taught to him growing up is a testament to how good forgiveness can be. If you're having trouble forgiving, just listen to Toph.
All I know is that while he was talking to us, he was sincere. Maybe you're all just letting your hurt feelings keep you from thinking clearly.
We as the audience were there at every turn of Zuko's journey, even when he was alone. so it's easy for us to understand that he deserves redemption. But what about from Team Avatar's perspective? Toph is right. They're letting their hurt feelings get in the way. And I'd have to admit, hurt feelings are what have stopped me from forgiving people in the past. But the best thing you can do is trust. And if they dishonor that trust, don't worry, it's not on you. It's on them. They're the ones who rejected redemption. The best we can do is reach out our hand and offer forgiveness. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. When the ancient master said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. By living with the Tao, Zuko was redeemed in the eyes of his enemies. Iroh was redeemed in his own eyes. Aang was able to confront his fears and face his destiny. Katara was able to start down the road of forgiveness, and Sokka grew into a true leader, one who carries love with him. And this in the end is why I love Taoism so much. It takes the form of 81 proverbs that all have thousands of different translations, so there's no one way to look at things. It's all about perspective. Something that I learned about Buddhism from my research was that when the Buddha grew old, he refused to appoint a successor. He knew that if he did, it would put his teachings on the path of slowly becoming an organized religion. And he didn't want his disciples to follow an organization, but just the simple words of his teachings. And that was the smartest decision he ever made. And this to me is also what makes Taoism so approachable. There's no establishment, no organization, just you and some old words on a page. Do with that what you will. So thank you for joining me. If you've made it this far, I'm very grateful, thank you. If you have any friends who love Avatar The Last Airbender or even just spirituality in general, share this video with them. They may find it interesting. And if they've been avoiding watching the show, maybe hearing some of these spoilers will make them want to watch it? That can happen. So let me know if you want to see more spirituality videos, and what movies or TV shows you'd like me to cover. I didn't cover all of the characters here, only the main characters who were introduced in Book 1. Let me know if you'd like to see a similar video on any of the characters introduced in Book 2. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all next time on Cunan's Cove.